November the 17th, 2024. Guys, you're looking at an image from an article today from Russia. And there's actually a video attached, and I'll put a link to it. But they are conducting nuclear drills in response to the U.S. and NATO ramping up threats of long-range missile strikes on the Russian homeland. So Russia made the video. They show it pull up, set up, and then launch. Again, these can travel across Europe in 20 minutes. Nothing, and not much can stop them, guys. And then you saw what happened a few nights ago with those multi-warhead missiles that came in. But it's ramping up, and I don't think Russia would release these if they were not trying to stop it. If they were all in on nuclear war, they wouldn't tell anybody. They wouldn't try to, again, saber rattle in order to stop it. And that's what this is, if you ask me, just showing you and showing the world the power that they have and how quickly this thing can come down. And so we'll read a little bit more about it, but everyone be prepared. Again, they're poking the bear. The bear's trying to back off NATO because NATO is not really concerned about Ukraine. They want to take out Russia and really cause as much collateral damage on both sides as they can because of the industrial complex and all the politician demons that are invested in that complex. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, it continues, and they're saying the Joe Biden legacy, the destruction of American World War, but I think it goes a little deeper than Biden. Russia conducted nuclear drills today on Saturday as the U.S., NATO, and the West continue to ramp up threats against the Russian homeland. On Saturday, France joined the U.S. and the U.K. and approved long-range missile attacks on Russia from Ukraine. None of them, guys, said you can launch it from the U.K., or you can launch it from the U.S., or you can launch it from France. No, let's keep the damage right there. But I think the bear is growing tired of this. He said, they pretty much said that if you bring these in and use them, we're going to take out a lot of stuff. But it's going to get to the point where there's going to be preemptive strikes if they keep this up. And I think they are throwing it all in because with the deep state starting to get removed from certain locations in certain nations, then things are desperate for them. And it said in response, Russia launched the Oreshnik hypersonic missile into Ukraine on Thursday. You saw the video we did, and a lot of people had it showing the multiple warheads coming through the clouds. It's a couple of videos back. It says Western defenses do not have the technology to stop the Oreshnik missiles. I don't think nobody does but our Father in heaven, because those things were coming in so fast, hard, and heavy, it would take out anything in front of it if you could even catch it, because they can travel at 7,000 miles an hour. And again, they can go from Russia into the UK and with one of the big missiles in 20 minutes. Now, maybe with some of the low glider ones, it wouldn't take that long, but that's getting up into altitude and being prepared to launch the missiles above the target, with each warhead assigned to a different building or location or air base, and letting it go. But I think if a nuclear strike occurs, and I'm not hoping that it would happen, of course, but it would probably be first a U.S. base. They've got one in Poland now. And Poland has given them a base. They've got them all around the world, really. Germany, everywhere is U.S. troops. And more than likely that will happen. But we really don't know. This is something that's getting out of hand very quickly. And Russia has said if it comes down to it, if you're going to overtake their motherland, they're going to push the buttons. It's in their nuclear doctrine. They're not going out alone, in other words. And they've got submarines, guys. Remember the video about 10 years ago, we were talking about the box containers that you can have on a cargo ship or on a train or a truck or just in a parking lot. Many of them were rigged to launch missiles, and most people blame that on Russia. Well, who knows? But it's very popular, and I wouldn't doubt it a bit. We have huge cargoes coming into different ports, and a lot of times, especially on the West Coast, the ports are not necessarily under U.S. or friendly control. So anything can be brought in, put in any parking lot, anywhere. You've seen these things outside of Walmart stacked up over there on the side. Who knows? But I'm not saying Walmart has anything to do with it. That's not what I'm talking about. But they're everywhere, these metal containers. And they've shown where they have the launch capabilities, lift it up out of the top and fire it from anywhere. Again, I'll link to it, but this is the end shot of the video. And this is showing the thing firing. A massive explosion, guys, as it comes out of the that tube that's been launched up and standing vertical. Very powerful. And it says that Saturday, today, Russia released a video of military operatives conducting nuclear drills. They're saying this is not a joke or a game to Russia. Think about it if this was happening in Cuba or in Canada and they were aimed at the U.S., how would you feel? Same thing there with Putin and Russia, guys, because they've refused to come under the control, as well as Cuba, of the international banking systems. They knew that it was a trap to start with. And guys, and speaking of traps, you've seen Bitcoin rising. I think Friday it reached into the 99,000 and something. It wasn't a couple of $100, I think, at one point, from hitting $100,000 for Bitcoin. Now, it's not something you can hold in your hand. It's a digital asset and a part of the electronically traded fund system. A few years ago, we would have never seen this because there was a lot of people, especially in the banking departments, that were anti-crypto. But now they're all for it. And remember, Trump is all for it too. Just something to watch, because what I see happening, and it's all over the news, is this: it's the time to get into Bitcoin. But when you see it at these high points, some people are saying it could go to $1 million. But when you start seeing it rise that quickly, same with silver or gold or any other commodities, someone's about to take a major haircut. You understand what I'm saying? So the big guys will drop a lot of money in, show the price go up. The little guys will mortgage their homes or their savings and try to jump into something at $99,000 a share that you'll never own. You can trade it if you have that much time, but they're going to risk it on something you'll never be able to hold. Now, I'm saying this right now: if you're not into Bitcoin, stay away from it. I'm talking about all of them, XRP, the Dogecoin, and all of that, because it would be classified in the Bible. If they had Bitcoin, then it would be in there with, they will cast their silver into the streets because it was the stumbling block of their iniquity. You understand what I'm saying? So paper money wasn't there then, but that's going to be one of the same things. But what's the difference? And here's the danger to the world. The difference is electronically transferred funds. In other words, they control it. And what they're doing is seeing the, I think on purpose, destruction of the U.S. dollar. That's going to bring in the Bitcoin situation or the Dogecoin, whichever one wins out in the end. The feds will probably decide on it. That will be the world currency. Now, this is an important chart, so pay attention to what I'm talking about here, because it has a couple of problems, and it's leading the world into a major trap of control where you will not be able to buy or sell or trade without this. But guys, what we're dealing with is what they're calling sustainability. Notice top left, and this is energy consumption by country. It starts down here with Malaysia, 150 terawatts hours per year, and then you go into Egypt, Poland, and then Bitcoin. Then Thailand, Vietnam, South Africa. Look at that. It cost a lot of money to make one Bitcoin, guys, a lot of money. And right now you're talking about Poland and Egypt and Malaysia use less electricity for the whole nation than Bitcoin does. 175.2 terawatt hours. That's a tremendous amount of energy. And what happens is that's way more in one day than a lot of the major cities or some of the states, I think even like Oregon, that they use. And where's the power going to come from? And what about the green energy initiatives we've had crammed down our throat? And they can't do it with solar. They're going to have to use, they're saying, coal and natural gas. And it's such a energy consumption thing or consuming thing that it's idiotic. They're spending thousands of dollars, and I think it's 56% of what they make on Bitcoin goes to paying the electric bill. 56%. But think about that. Now, what's going to happen? The world's going to come into the control of whichever one the feds get behind. Could be Dogecoin because of the Elon connection with Trump. Who knows? But if it is Bitcoin, it was not going to matter because one will win out, the rest will perish. So if you got it, and get rid of it. I don't care if you paid $90,000 and now you're only going to make $9,000 off of it, or it's $98,000, you're only going to make $1,000. You've got very little time to get rid of it. If you're not into it, don't get into it. Buy supply food for your family, supply extra water, all of that. Protection, whole 9 yards. That's where your sustainability is going to come when all this comes crashing down. So what if you have an outage? Suddenly the world's all tied to wherever the main Bitcoin processing plants are, and they're huge. Their carbon footprint is unbelievable, but they don't care about that. What happens when the grid goes down? What happens if Russia, instead of nuking the U.S., does it with EMPs via these big missiles? They don't really want to necessarily destroy the United States. We have a lot of products that we trade back and forth. We have some of the best oil in the world with Texas. But anyway, if they put an EMP up in the middle of a heavy battle, it'll hit several nations. They're going to not just hit the U.S., it's going to be Europe too. Then, and I'm saying this could be a few months down the road. Who knows? It could be sooner than that. But they're going to try to move everyone into whatever coin they decide to. All of your bank accounts, guys, it's coming. It's set up now. Trump is looking for a Bitcoin czar or a ETF czar right down as one of his appointees. 4 years ago, he's kind of against it. But I think that the mighty dollar always speaks loud. And when you could get into Bitcoin when it first came out for pennies. Now you're talking about $100,000 or just below that per Bitcoin. And people now, again, once it hits that point, and then you got people talking about it hitting $1 million, then it's a sucker deal. Because the major players raise it up, then take their money out, dropping the price, and then rebuy in at a cheaper price when all the people under them take a major scalping and lose everything you got. But I own none of it, guys. I've invested for 20 years or more just on being prepared for what we have been seeing coming. Now check out this chart, guys, put together, same article. It's called the single Bitcoin transaction footprint. For one Bitcoin, the carbon footprint here, this is equivalent to the carbon footprint of 1,021,715 Visa transaction, or 76,832 hours of watching YouTube for one Bitcoin. Over here, that's a carbon footprint if you're dealing with the nuclear or coal, equivalent to the power consumption of an average U.S. household over 28.33 days, a month's energy for one Bitcoin in the average house. Electronic waste, equivalent to the weight of 1.2 iPhones or 12 or 0.5 iPads. More info on the e-waste here, and I'll link to it, but 196.21 or 20 grams of electronic waste to make 1 Bitcoin. Fresh water consumption for cooling these major processing plants and the processors, guys. 1 Bitcoin, 13,026 liters, equivalent to the amount of water in a backyard swimming pool for 1 Bitcoin. It's unsustainable. If you're in it, get out. If you're in silver or gold, be prepared to get out. It's gonna, when it collapses, I've watched too many of the dealers talk about it. I'm not into either one. But the fact that they're saying as soon as it starts to drop, they're closing their door and going home. Because why would they buy all of your silver at that point when it's collapsing? You understand what I'm saying? They would have wasted the 30 or 25, whatever years they've been in business in one day. So when they see it go down, and they're going to have the heads up, they're closing and walking out. You can call any of them that you know and ask them the truth about it. What's going to happen if everything hits the fan and I got a handful of silver coins or whatever it is, gold, and I need to trade it out? They're going to say, good luck. I had one of the major ones here in the state. I called just to find out, because I like to keep up with this, because it gives us an overall look at the economy. And the economy is very important because it means whether or not you can pay your rent, eat, things like that. But I called him, and I said, what if it happens? And we talked about the prices and everything else. He said, I wouldn't give you a loaf of bread for a basket full of gold or silver when it happens, he said. Not one loaf of bread for a basket full of either one. Straight from the horse's mouth. And I've watched some on YouTube that trade in silver and have coin shops and things like that and gold. They're saying the same thing. So if you're waiting, hoping that it's going to go to 200,000, you're going to get caught. And if you just bought in and you're buying in right now, I know someone's listening, at that unbelievable price of 100 grand for 1 Bitcoin, you've taken a sucker's bet there, guys. Don't do it. Get out now. I'm telling you, one EMP from what you just saw in the beginning of this article would take all of this out. And it's stupid. It is the most stupid thing I've ever heard of. Now, I know some people got in cheap and are probably cashed out right now, and they're very happy. But the majority will be the ones that are stuck. Because the big guys on the top of all of this, they're way ahead of you by days on what to move, what to sell, and what not to sell. They're way ahead of you for anything as far as MSNBC or CNBC, stock markets, stuff like that. And it's time. That's what I do. I'll watch, and I see trouble coming and how fast it's coming, and I've got to let you know about it. Now, this is an article from November 21st, 2 days ago. It's Kevin O'Leary. You've seen him on Shark Tank on the right, and then you've got Brian Killery, or whatever his name is, from Fox over here. And they're talking about Trump eyes the first ever White House crypto roll. Trump eyes first ever White House crypto czar at the bottom. And Shark Tank investor Kevin O'Leary joins Fox and Friends to discuss the Dogecoin, Trump's appointment for Treasury Secretary and the first ever crypto czar. And that's what's about to happen. Let me show you another picture. Another Fox article. Now, guys, this was yesterday, and this is Liz Claiborne, and she's on the stock market reports for Fox. But they're saying, notice at the bottom left, ETF soar, electronically traded funds, as President-elect Trump vows to go all in on crypto. Now, I'm not saying anything against Trump. I'm so glad that he's in here. But sometimes even the people upstairs get it wrong. So we just got to pay attention to this, guys. Don't get into this. People are already losing it, man. They're losing one of the big trading firms and part of the fintech or financial technology, they closed a few days ago, and they were traded through a bank, not by the bank, but through a bank. And they kind of snuck in under the FDIC insurance rules, up to $250,000 deposit. But now they're closed and people aren't getting their money. They put their life savings into this company. And the banks aren't taking responsibility for it because they were just basically transferring the money back to this other company, they're saying. But already you're seeing that collapse and wipe out, guys. So right now is the time to move. Turn your assets that you can't eat or drink into something that you can. Now, they're going to put this, it looks like, under the Secretary of Treasurer's Department. It says Trump's Treasury Secretary shortlist. Trump eyes first ever White House crypto czar. Kevin Warsh, he was formerly a Federal Reserve, the governor on the left, a reserve governor. Mark Rowan in the middle, Apollo Global Management CEO. And on the right, Senator Bill Hagerty's a Republican from Tennessee. That's the people. Now, what I've been reading, that it looks like, guys, just between me and you, that there's a company called BlackRock that's really going to end up with the major control of this whole situation. I know it's not the best news you ever heard, but really when we're given information like this, and you know for yourself that something that you never hold that can be shut down with the internet is the most dangerous and really most ill-advised thing I've ever heard of in my life. And that's how it's going to crash. It's going to it's going to get hacked. All the money is going to go into whoever Rock's house is. You know what I'm talking about. And whoever are the big daddies in that situation, or an EMP will take it out. Either way, it's going to crash. It will be the stumbling block of your iniquity. And why? Because all hope is lost. I saw where the people that got hit by the fintech company were just, they looked suicidal. They had lost everything. Thinking that it was insured because it was coming from a bank. And that's the kind of ripoffs. Where did their money go? One of them was offered, he had, I think, $250,000 lost. They offered him, I think, $500. Think about that. They don't care, man. Take this as a warning. Seriously look at your interests, your investments, your plans. Are you just going to hang out there? Even if you got in, like I said, at 90,000 or 98,000, you can make 1,000 off each one of them. Get rid of them as fast as you can, guys. Put it in your hand or you don't own it. It's a heads up. Be safe.